All right, everybody. Aloha. My name is Vincent Mina. I'm president of Hawaii Farmers Union United and its foundation. Real excited and appreciative of what we've been able to do with these pre-convention presentations, highlighting mushrooms, soil health, and tonight hemp again for the third week. And tonight we have a real special panel that we'll be introducing soon. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background. Katie, if you could put up the schedule for our convention. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, we're going to be holding our annual convention December 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. The 12th is going to be for the business of the organization, voting in our vice president. And but the 9th, 10th, and the 11th, we're having great presentations on Zoom. But the special part about that is we're having all of our chapter presidents, all of our 13 chapters convene on Maui at a retreat center. So we'll all be together. And we're looking forward to having these wonderful presentations in the morning. Christopher Nesbitt's agroforestry systems person in Belize, Colombia. Dan Kittridge. This is really an exciting presentation that's going to happen on the bionutrient produce meter. And Dan has been working on this open source meter that is on the path to developing nutrient density, testing for nutrient density. And that's where the rubber is going to meet the road, I feel, as far as our agricultural systems actually becoming more and more regenerative with living soils, creating nutrient-rich food. And farmers, you know, we may be foolish sometimes, but we're not stupid. And if we can transition into practices by being supported to do so, that will gain us more of a market share, then, you know, we're going to go for it. And in that spirit, looking forward to Dan's presentation on that Friday. And then Saturday's Ray Archuleta. He starred in the movie Kiss the Ground. He's a former NRCS extension agent. And then we'll have lunch. And then in the afternoon, we have some really great farms here on Maui we'll be featuring. So tune in for that convention. It's a donation only event. You got to register, but register with a donation. So if it's a $1 or $100 or $1 million, feel free. But just register and get online for us. You know, all that money is going to go to the operations of the organization and putting forth all the great content we put forth during the year. And then also at the fact that we have our organization on the forefront of working on a soil health initiative here in the state that has brought all the agricultural sector to the table. As a matter of fact, today I gave a public presentation on the Board of Agriculture for that soil health initiative. So we're working on some really great levels here to bring and develop agriculture here in Hawaii in a way that truly can build a resilient system to support our farmers. So stay tuned for all the great stuff that we're continuing to bring forward. And your support is essential in that spirit. So if you value this stuff, you know, support it in whatever way you can. So with that said, Katie, you can take this off, and thank you. And I want to welcome everyone tonight. And my brother of a different mother, Doug Fine, is going to be moderating tonight's session on hemp. And this is something that has been a strategic initiative of the Farmers Union for many years. And I really appreciate how Doug and Gal Baber and Lizzie from Colorado Hemp, all those folks, Mars, have brought this forward. Oh, and there's Greg. Okay, good. Greg's on now. So we got a great panel tonight with Kat Baber and Edgar Winters and Greg Smith. Greg, I'm going to change your name so it's representative of who you are. And Doug, please take it away, brother. Appreciate you being on tonight.
Oh, well, first off, huge thanks to Vincent Mina, Irene Mina. Katie has done such a great job. Gail, Vincent K, everyone who works so hard to make HFUU be what I believe truly is one of the finest regenerative agricultural organizations on the globe. I have learned so much as a member, and I really hope anybody here today who isn't yet a Hawaii's Farmer Union member will join. It's really not hugely expensive, especially considering I get the payback many times over. The education is just incredible. And also as a National Farmers Union member, well, if you like hemp, the National Farmers Union backs 3% hemp definition of THC, which will be very, very helpful for us cultivators if we get to that federal level. We're trying for 1% now. So this panel is about regenerative farming, which at core, I think means building soil. I think that we're all soil farmers now. You know, I like to call what's happening, and it's a real thing. Everybody on this panel, Edgar, Cab, Greg, and myself, we all are really doing this in the real world marketplace. And I like to think of it as the rebirth of the regenerative farmer entrepreneur. But another definition is how everybody always farmed before supermarkets. We wouldn't be here if we hadn't continually built soil and as humans, you know, successfully every year, we would have started. My own wake-up call was this, you know, ho-hum, another millennial wildfire, 13,000 acres. It sent a refugee bear after my beloved goats. It was terrifying, and it woke me up to farming as humanity's #1 chance to mitigate carbon so that we can survive. And we grow here on the Funky Butte Ranch in New Mexico for food security. And at this time of year, it feels really good to have pounds and pounds of superfood seed, which we've been just crunching a few minutes ago as a family. It's yummy and delicious. And of course, Hawaii, represented here today by Cab and Greg, which needs regenerative farming as much as anywhere. Now, Vincent, when my family and I visited those comparative soil studies, we went to the field with you one day a couple of years ago. Was that the same study that you've been reporting about in some of the HFUU newsletters now about some of the comparative production, if you're doing organic versus monoculture / so-called conventional versus KNF and stuff like that? Was that the studies that the results are starting to come out now? Did you catch that, Vincent? I don't know if he's there or muted or putting out 1,000 other HFU. Well, let's assume that it was the same study. It was a really great, interesting thing for my family to see. But I mention this because I really want to know about the results, but I'm not going to be surprised, obviously, if the regenerative modes outperformed the modes that we know are not working, monoculture and GMO modes in the world. So we can take it as a given that in the ground, regenerative modes not only are better for planet and sequestering carbon, but actually result in the best quality hemp and other crops. There's already studies confirming bioavailability in cannabinoid crops that are grown regeneratively. But the rub, what we're here to discuss today with y'all, is the real world market realities and opportunity for folks, who want to save the earth, but who want to be professional farmers as well, or at least support them. And we have the right panel to do this. So welcome all. Welcome to my fellow Hawaii Farmers Union members and hopefully near future Farmers Union members. My name is Doug Fine. I farm hemp for my family's superfood plus for genetic development here in New Mexico and elsewhere. I also help on other projects, including a Rosebud Sioux tribal project this year. And I really hope to be helping in the near future with the Mina's Hemp House project. And I'm going to convince, I hope, Kahanalani Mina one day to do some of her hemp swimwear line with
there you go.
Regenerative hemp. So the rest of this panel are folks that I would go to for regenerative farming and marketing advice. And, you know, it's funny how important it is for folks to give advice on hemp, to actually farm hemp. Might be the first question if you're ever looking for a consultant or an advisor. So we have just people that I trust as farmers and that I would go to with my farming and marketing questions. And we have first my colleague and a mentor of mine, Edgar Winters, who cultivates commercially and for research in Northern California. He recently relocated from Oregon, where he held modern hemp permit #1. And he first grew as a kid in Alabama in 1957 because his grandfather knew that cotton baling twine worked better, a competitive advantage on the cotton bales than the plastic junk that to this day clogs our farmland. And I wrote about this in my most recent book. So please, please, folks who are listening, do hemp baling twine. I will be a customer, and I think I speak for the rest of our panelists. Enough plastic junk in our field. So, but anyway, Edgar's one of my mentors, and we'll start with you, Edgar, and then we'll introduce our two Hawaii farmer entrepreneurs, Greg Smith and Cab Baber. Edgar, in a couple of minutes or so, give us an intro and describe your enterprise. And besides, we've established, okay, let's say regenerative farming techniques are best for the earth, but how can that work in the ground as a product approach, a marketing approach? How can you win in the marketplace? One reason you feel with regenerative approach, and I'll ask that same question for the others. I think we all have a few slides as well. I'll show mine later, but take it away, Edgar. Unmute.
Muted, Edgar.
Okay. Now I got rid of the screens you had on there about the mute. Thank you so much, Doug Vine, for having me here tonight, and all the guests is also here with us. A little background on myself. I'm 70 years old, and I've been growing hemp for a long time here in Oregon. But as Doug said, I was the first licensed hemp farmer in Oregon back in 2014. And since then, the last 6-7 years, I've been growing hemp for all the different parts of the plants, from seed to shelf. And my wife, she owns Natural Good Medicines, and I've been CEO of her as well. We make a lot of different products out of hemp, about 17 at present. 4 or 5 have been doing real well with our corporations. But we found out that in order to grow good products, you got to have good soil. And I go back to a statement by Franklin Roosevelt. He says, the nations that destroy their soil destroys themselves. And at present, our soils are sick, and we've got to regenerate these soils to a position where we can be growing hundreds of years from now. Scientists have already came up and determined that we only have basically 30 or 40 seasons left to grow hemp. And we need to regenerate those soils. If we started yesterday, I just don't know if we'll be able to get to that point, but we are going to try to do that. I didn't bring any slides, but I do have a lot of data that I wanted to share with the people about why we need to regenerate our soils. And I like to start with the 7 Ps of regeneration is what I usually do. First, pluralism. We want to make sure that we're diversified in our species that we grow. We have to do that. Monoculture, conventional farming is just, it's not there anymore. Sustainability is actually an old word. It's not really much valued anymore. Sustainability is really just a bridge. Regenerative farming is the destination that we're after. So we want each and every farmer to think on those terms. And protection. We want to make sure that we protect our soils. We need to use cover crops. We need to use soils that has rich root contents year round to keep that soil generated with the microorganisms. Purity, we don't need a lot of fertilization or pesticides in our grounds. Permanence, we want to make sure that we grow perennials and grow plants that have vigorous roots to stay in the ground. And there is no other plant on earth would be better to do that than hemp. And then last but not least is peace. We want to be within harmony with nature. And if we're not in harmony with nature, it does not like us. We need nature. Nature doesn't need us. So we want to make sure that we regenerate the soil, get it into a position where we'll have a lot more years to grow all kinds of species of plants.
From a marketplace perspective, incorporating all those values, incorporating regenerative cultivation, and we'll get some in the ground tips too for folks who want in our later rounds of questions. But just straight up from the it's the economy stupid perspective, how is what you do with Winter Fox Farms, when Margaret, your wife, both of you guys are such close friends of mine, does with Natural Good Medicines and the farm to product mode that you have? How can that win in the marketplace when we have the equivalent of Coors and Budweiser? How can you be the the craft beer?
Well, first and foremost, we're a craft companies. We specialize in specialty crops. We're not after for quantity per se. We're more into quality. So we're entrepreneurs in that fashion. And what we try to do is to make sure that what we produce is el natural first and foremost, but it is in compliance. And we found that a lot of these companies are out there selling CBD products, selling lotion sops, shampoos, and all those. If you get right down and look at the ingredients in that, they're not very much any better than what's on the market in the commercial end of the spectrum. So what we try to do is have a closed loop system to where we can grow the products from genetics, from seed to shelf, and then we will distribute those out through marketing, through various social networks, conventions, farmers markets, et cetera, et cetera. But what you want to do, you want to make sure you have a product that is sellable. Because right now in the hemp industry, we have so many products that are out there on the market, and most people do not even know what they are. I know here in California, we would have to come around and change the whole concept of our labeling. So if you really want to get into the good marketing strategy for producing your products in the hemp arena, you have got to follow these rules and regulations as far as labeling on all of your products. We did that from the start. We didn't actually put anything in our ads that would say that we were overextending on what we were doing. We wanted it to be el natural, and we put it on our labeling. And I think now in the future, that's where we're going to be going. If we're not doing that, you're not going to be able to market that product. Sure, it will sit on the shelf for days and weeks and months, but that is not our ambition. Our ambition is to sell that product as soon as possible. And we all know that some of the hemp products that we make are can go rancid. So you want to make sure that you get those products in the market quickly and sold quickly. You don't want them to sit on the market like other products do. Everybody has a certain way of getting their products in the market. We're trying to have a closed loop system, so we can actually take care of that from start to finish. And then all we have to do is run it to the UPS or FedEx and send it off.
By the way, I like you saying that you like your company and enterprise to be au natural. I think if you did that on your labels, you'd get a lot of attention. You know, you, Margaret, Adam and Eve, maybe a fig leaf. So thanks for that. And moving on to Cab Baber of Royal Hawaiian Hemp. Cab, another guy after my own heart. I noticed there were some postings on social media recently of like, I can't remember if it was like 20th anniversary of a Hawaii-based food hub, and there you and Gail were. This is about more than just hemp cannabis with you, obviously, but for the same question that we fired at Edgar and we'll give Greg. Besides introducing us a little bit about what you do and the products, and how can we acknowledge regenerative hemp's better for planet and produces higher quality hemp? How can you make give an example of a way that one can, and if you're able to under Hawaii's current regs, how you can now get these products to the marketplace. When I made that earlier comment about craft beer beating Budweiser and Coors, I made it for a reason, and that's craft beer gains 1% on junk beer in the real world marketplace every year, and in all our lifetimes, there will be more craft beer sold than so-called mass market beer, which means customers are aware and willing to pay a little bit more for higher quality and ideally regional products. How are you playing that? And is it still in the future, or are you already able to do this, Cab?
Oh, yes. Thank you so very much. And Edgar, I'm also from Alabama. That's where I learned to farm myself. Thank you so much for your presentation. I echo many things you have to say already. I think that's very cool.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I've been farming here in Hawaii since 1979, cannabis and food. And I've always wanted to feed my community in Alabama. That we used to brag about how much my garden could produce and feed our community. So that's a real big thing to me. And started a hemp council back in 1990 for the Big Island, and hoped to replace sugar with hemp way back then. We helped coordinate the legalization of hemp here in the state with the HFUU. And it's really about feeding everybody along with this crop. And we should be eating this crop too. Absolutely. As you know, superfood and juices, etc. So polycropping food along with our crop is going to give us many bonuses, especially in the rejuvenation world. Regenerative farming with many different species will give us a higher quality of development of microbial structuring in our soils. And this is the main thing we want to do, is build our soil. And whether you're hauling in materials to get the party started, or you're just using microbial action and minerals to really grow your soil in place, either way, we want to not till it ever and just layer, layer, layer. And as we understand, hemp is the way to do it. We can grow it and cut it down, and grow it and cut it down, and grow it and cut it down, and just drill alongside of it. And we've already showed with the University of Hawaii how remediation was 90% in the atrazine back with Dr. Ako. And so the first grow, 90% remediation, was pretty clear that we're well onto it, and does a great thing with this 50-foot deep root system. We did get 120 days. We got 16 footers here in Hawaii with the university in their soil. And that we also amended it, Island Herbs amended that soil to make a little bit of a difference. So it's important that we build soil every year, Hawaiian style. If I can leave a foot of soil to my family, then they have a legacy and they will eat food, at least for a generation. So this is important to understand and know, especially since we come from depletion of soils, even in the organic world. Many practices are now so harsh, they're depleting the soils, even though they're trying to do a good job and they're producing a lot of food. We still are not hitting our mark in that respect. So it is about building a healthy soil. I believe strongly in fermentation. I'm a Bokashi guy, an effective microorganism guy for 25 years. I'm loving that and rolling it out wherever I can, when anybody's willing to try or listen or feel it out. This is a really great thing, pronounced our best tool by Paul Stamos. And so it's a great thing, and anybody can have it. And I really, roll that out with the rock dust. And those two things are a great combo at getting any party started onto the road of goodness. As far as marketing all these things, it has been interesting and challenging to market product. And with our state, Gail has worked terrifically in the legislation to make a difference there. And to have this online kind of sales, direct marketing setup seems to be the wave of the future. We see this in other large businesses, and it's going to be successful for small businesses too. And just like, 75% of the world is fed from small farms. It's not really big pharma that's feeding the world. So it is us making personal connections with people. Our reputation has to be built on the quality of soil that we produce, and hence the quality of product that we're going to be producing and offering to people. Being limited is actually a good thing, just like the Kona coffee. Coffee is $2 a pound around the world, and in Kona coffee is $20. So hemp should be in something like that reflection as well. So we do know that we have to have a niche market. It has to be high quality and, again, limited. So that's a crafty market, and it is a place that we can survive and we can feed our families and prosper, and I think do a really good job with our tinctures and our salves. And quality's got to be of the utmost, though. As Edgar said, there's so many products on the market that are, a lot of them here in Hawaii don't even have CBD in them, but they're for sale and they taste good and all those wonderful things. But there's so much out there that you have to be aware of doing a good job. And then that's going to carry you through, I believe, in the end, as far as your reputation and your buying back again. And at some point you'll hit a ceiling and you'll have no more product to sell. And that's going to happen because Hawaiian hemp is the best in the world, period, hands down.
Cab, sorry to interrupt. Please let me know when I should share your slides.
Just roll them. Go ahead and
Okay.
start rolling. We'll take a look and see what you got there.
Awesome.
So polycropping is like I say, one of my best things. You see
That's the wrong one.
Uh-oh.
Hey, Katie, that's the wrong presentation.
Oh gosh.
Take that down. Yeah, never mind. I'll try to send you something else.
While you're looking for it, I will start to introduce Greg. And also, Cab, one of the things you said made a nice segue, really, when you were talking about premium prices through regional branding. I'm going to show a few slides. That's one of them. Obviously, yeah, Hawaii is incomparable when it comes to built-in branding. We're at 500,000 acres of hemp, by the way, so we're getting there. 89.1 million acres of corn, most of that GMO corn. So we've got plenty of room to grow. Less than 1% of American homes have any kind of hemp products in them. So I love that branding. And for me, there's two modes. For me, what I like to do in my own sort of small scale craft product is blend the superfood side of the seed plant with the beneficial elements of cannabinoid infusion, but also sort of market and brag, not just about organic practices, but things like compostable labels, very little, minimal plastic, glass bottles that are reusable and repurposable, and really also being a customer, making the product that I want to use myself is a way that in the marketplace, explain what that premium is so that when consumers are educated, they're going to choose that over, let's just say, a fungible CBD product grown who knows where, infused in who knows what, found in a drugstore or gas station or something like that. So that would be my own mode. Now, continuing our kind of unanimous real deal membership on this panel, I've visited Greg Smith's farm, and he has been a real organic farmer of everything for many decades. His was one of the first ginger crops I ever saw planted, and turmeric, and I learned a lot from him from my field visits, and I know he's a really high quality cannabis and hemp farmer on the Big Island. And the other thing that I really like from a marketing perspective is that, correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, you do a fair percentage of the marketing of your products directly at farmers markets in Kona and maybe elsewhere on the Big Island. But give us an intro about what you and Gail and the farm do, and how you market regenerative hemp.
Well, this is a great honor to be with you three guys, because you guys have always been my mentors and my friends. In fact, Edgar's wife was the first one to show my wife how to make salves and tinctures back in 2016, 17, I think. And she came home and started doing it and created a product line now that we have that has been working really well. And, the most important thing about making medicine is it's got to work. It's got to help people. You've got to be able to know that they're sleeping better, their anxiety levels are down, their pain threshold is being dealt with. Those are the things that make a product work. If you go and buy some CBD product and it doesn't work, you're not going to go back and buy it again. So you need a product that actually does do the things that you say they're going to do. And that's what it takes. And it takes a lot of effort to create a product line that does that. And I feel really blessed with being able to grow some of the best CBD hemp in Hawaii and have my wife create some of the best product that we have. I started back in 2017 with the contract to grow seed for the Department of Agriculture here in Hawaii. And we went through all kinds of hoops to get different genetics to try to get started. And it wasn't easy. And we only got maybe 2 strains that we could work with. One of them was from China. It's called Yuma. And it was a industrial strain. And then finally they gave us permission to grow the Otto, which was one of the early strains, and then the box. And then we started mixing and started to try to develop different genetics. And, we kept working at it. And I'm not a geneticist, so I made a lot of mistakes and had trouble. When you asked what is one of the biggest issues with growing is keeping good records. When you're dealing with genetics, you've got to keep good records, because if you don't, you could have a whole box of seeds that you can't say they are what they're supposed to be. So it's important that we grow strains that are collected and are done in a way that is compliant. And being compliant is another big issue here in Hawaii. You know, being under 0.3% is very difficult to do, and to be able to grow crops. I probably have grown 20 crops since I started back in 2000. I mean, because here in Hawaii, we grow 3 or 4 times a year. So small crops, large crops, outdoor crops, indoor crops, crops under LED, you know, different types of growing techniques. You know, all of it's been researched, because the only income we've ever made is on our farmers market product line. There's really very little infrastructure here in Hawaii that allows us to sell our products to a distributor or to a manufacturer. So we have to do it on our own farm, in our own way, and until they kind of get all their ducks in a row here, that's just about the only way you can make a living growing CBD hemp. All the other hemp potential with seed and fiber, it's difficult here because our labor costs are so high, the land costs are so high. We really got to be a niche. We got to be able to create things that are unique and different with the Hawaiian brand, but it's got to work. I mean, that's really the key. The product's got to work.
For folks who are listening and wondering, you know, so that now the nosy bottom line question, can a family operation operating purely at their local farmers markets like really make a real living from that outlet, from a farmers market outlet for a relatively small hemp cannabinoid crop?
I think it can support a living. I don't think it can do the whole thing. I think you really have to look at it. I mean, and also some farmers markets won't allow CBD in their markets. Some farmers markets allow CBD from outside the state, so you're competing against imports. So it's very difficult. We just happen to be lucky because we own a farmers market, so we can sell our product in our own market, and gives us, you know, the opportunity to sell and produce and to create a product line. And we've been selling it for about 4 years now, and basically that's all we've done is selling it at our farmers market every Wednesday from 9 to 2 at the outrigger in Kona. And that has been our best income, and we've done well. I won't say it's supported me completely, but we've done well with it. And we expect it to do even better because we're setting up a website and we're getting ready to really launch our product line much bigger within the next 3 to 6 months. So, but yeah, it could help, but it's difficult. I mean, Cab will tell you, we spent more money growing than we've actually made, just because we love the plant and we've been doing all the research and investing a lot of income. So it's not really been a great financial income for us yet, but we see the potential.
Yeah, it's a young industry, and let's not forget all the people that it's helping. As we go, thanks for that. That was a helpful answer to me, I know. And going before we get into our second round of questions, I'm just going to point out here, hemp shirt, some hemp yoga pants, and my usual TMI alert, hemp underwear as well. Cab looks like he's clutching his own shirt as well. And I know Vincent eats so much hemp seeds these days that he as a person is pretty much made of hemp. And Greg too. We are what we eat.
Yeah, baby.
So for our second round of questions, I want to say something about regulatory stuff. Greg was talking about how hard it is to grow at 0.3%. Everybody, please send all your energy and your calls to your legislator to get that federal definition of hemp up to 1%. It most likely will happen in the next farm bill, but we got to keep the pressure on. And heaven bless the National Farmers Union supports 3%, which is even more than most folks are asking for right now. But whenever I say that, Edgar always says to me, should be 5 or 6. Like, why are they? We're not selling stuff for people to smoke and get high. We're trying to make healthy products for people. Stop making us any different than tomato, okra or kalo farmers. And, to that, of course, I say a big amen. But I think an idea that on the regulatory side that I would love to see is a countercurrent to the over sanitization of food industry that's happening now with global food programs, a special new category for craft products. It can start with hemp, and I'm happy with any food products doing this. A certain amount I kind of proposed in American Hemp Farmer, in my most recent book, of let's say, something that allows a healthy small enterprise to have revenue of whatever. Certain amount of 6 tons of product by dry rate. So it could be a multi-million-dollar enterprise supporting a bunch of employees that has rules much closer to farmers market rules and bake sale rules, but professionalized than this crazy don't touch your plants, nuke everything before it gets to the customer. A countercurrent to that. We can lobby for our own craft model. And that's sort of a dream that I would love to see manifest. For the second round of questions, and you guys feel free to show a few slides with each of these. I will when I answer this question myself last. But my second question is, what is something that you wish you knew going in? If we've got putative hemp farmer entrepreneurs here who are thinking about taking the big dive, besides things like having a long-term outlook and it's not a get-rich-quick scheme, what is maybe something you guys wished you knew before you went in? And I guess we could keep our same order here and start with Edgar. Unmute, my friend.
How's that? I keep seeing this later coming up on the screen. Repeat the question again, Doug. I was trying to get that squared away. You're muted.
Sure. What is something you wished you knew before you leapt in as a hemp farm to product entrepreneur?
How technology supersedes legislative. Technology is always ahead of legislative processes. So here we are coming up with all these innovations and cures for our ailments, but yet the government has failed to come up and answer the questions of what we really need to do. And as long as we rely on them, especially hemp in the hemp arena, it's not going to go very far because legislative is always trying to suppress what we do, and especially farmers. Government doesn't like very successful farmers unless they're large and cooperative. So that way they can get their incentives back. But for a small scale farmer, it is very difficult to do that. So I wished I would have known more about the legislative end before I got into the technology, and then I would probably have a better answer to give to people on why government is lacking in this issue.
That's a great answer. Cab, same question. When you said, "Oh boy, look at this, hemp's legal," what do you wish you knew at that starting point that may have proven helpful to you now?
Well, like Edgar, I'm going to say the same kind of thing. We didn't know what we were in for as far as legislation and laws and all this fun stuff we get to do. We thought it was going to be more like we get to grow tomatoes and cucumbers, and now we get to supply wonderful salves and tinctures for people in a similar fashion. So we didn't really think it was going to be such a tough road. And I thought things would be more cooperative. I thought people were beginning to embrace these healing plants that we have, and really want to bring for everybody that knows about this. So I'm not sure what we want to do right now to make a difference, except for keep showing everybody that there's a way to do this properly. There's a way to have your fields mulched well and rejuvenate the earth and provide high quality produce and high quality products for people. I really think it's up to us to stay the course right now and show the way. And I'll say, just like many years ago, about what was it, 5 or 6 years ago, we had USDA come to the Farmers Union and say, hey, you guys got to teach us how to farm. You guys got to teach the nation how to farm, because we really don't know. They know how to destroy soil, but they don't know how to grow soil. And so you see this polycropping that's going on. It's tremendous. Everybody's just so happy with the different microbial structures that are going on in that soil and the party that's happening. So we really want to be able to mix it up as much as possible. And plus, in the hemp world, you're polycropping, you're getting different types of harvests. So let's put different species that the marketplace wants that work really well for our hemp, and we're all growing together. And in my field, you'll see that I have a lot of trees planted, and eventually I'd be happy if those trees actually take over the field in the end. There's a Bokashi that we like to use, #1 tool in the farm. So anything we're laying out, we're fermenting it out, and we're really making a difference that way. We're growing soil in place. And, those alternative products, this is like our hempcrete blocks that we could do. There's a lot of things we can do in Hawaii that are more expansive than the small farm kind of approach. So I'm not imposing any of all that. I think it's a wonderful way to go. In fact, we need to go that way to clean up our land. But again, it is about the small farmer. That's what feeds Hawaii right now. That's what feeds the world. And the sooner we get to supporting that effort, the greater the success will be for everyone concerned.
Beautiful looking plants and farm. And shout out to Cynthia Thielen. I saw in one of those photos, a great early advocate for hemp in Hawaii. Greg, when cap slides are finished, same question for someone that's leaping in. Is there something practical on the farm or marketing side that you wished you knew before you leapt into this great adventure of modern regenerative farm product hemp?
Well, I think it's the same thing. Legislation has always been slow, and it's hard to know where you're going to go with the ability to make a product that can make money. So, I just kept growing, and I kept producing different. I get my COAs, compliant, so that I could have a product that I could sell. Under the pilot program, we paid a lot to get our license, and we were allowed to grow. And I grew some nice crops, and I produced some nice crude from it that was high CBD product that we use on our medicine. We've just been told recently that we can't even sell that here in Hawaii under the pilot program. We have to now, under the USDA, start all over again to create a product that we can make under the USDA license form. So everything that we did under the pilot program is not acceptable. And I'm sitting on a lot of product that I created under the pilot program. So these are the kind of things that we're up against. Growing a plant, it's so powerful, and you feel so good when you grow a beautiful crop of CBD hemp and it's going to help people. But finding a way to market it, we don't even have a place where we can process it yet here in Hawaii. I mean, you guys out there in the mainland, you've got hundreds of outlets to process your products. We don't even have a legitimate spot yet where we can go and take our product. I think there's one or two maybe in Kauai, and I think there's a few other, but we're still just beginning here to get into the game. And it's a little difficult. Hopefully we'll get some new legislation this year that will make it a little easier on us farmers to grow. But, the growing of the plant here in Hawaii is not that difficult. I mean, it's like any other plant. We need to put all the energy into the genetics, and the energy into good soil, and the energy into proper harvesting, and the energy into all the other things that go with growing. And but then what do you do with it? where do you sell it? Where do you process it? I mean, I'll be perfectly honest, I'm not sure what I'm doing at the farmer's market is completely legitimate and under the state guidelines. So we're still, struggling with what our potential is. Hawaiian brand CBD could be a gold mine for farmers in Hawaii, a gold mine. But it needs support from its legislators. It needs support from its community. It needs support from investors. We need infrastructure, and we don't have it. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that we need. Growing it is probably the least of our problems. It's all the other things that come with that.
Awesome. I appreciate that. For my own question, and by the way, folks, we will take questions at the end because we got such a wealth of knowledge here. We'll probably go right to that top of the hour with our panelists. And if folks are comfortable staying about 15 or so minutes extra, we'll go till a quarter past the hour and take some questions then. I'm going to share my screen here. Bear with me for a second. And my sort of practical answer about what I wish I knew before getting into hemp is the last of these few slides that I have, and I'll go through them all real quick. First and foremost, there's already studies coming out about bioavailability, cannabinoid content, terpene content higher in basically in farms that are craft hemp, top shelf hemp, where you're loving every plant. This photo, by the way, this Where's Waldo is a crop that Edgar and I grew. That's a superfood crop, and that's also been used in a phytoremediation study at New Mexico State University, showing cleaning up of soil. As I mentioned earlier, this is my crop from this year here on the Funky Beer Ranch in New Mexico. Regenerative farming, it's not a new thing. It's why we're all still here. And we talked a little bit earlier about the essentials of branding. The Hawaii brand is obviously a no-brainer, but actually the New Mexico brand is too. Here in New Mexico, we have a state question in addition to a state bird and a state flower, and it's red or green. And already my good friend Lou Siebinger of Siebinger Hemp up in northern New Mexico markets red and green hemp products, CBD hemp products, edible hemp products. And it's not whimsical or fake. In our traditional Curandara folk healing tradition in this part of the world, green chili especially has documented benefits in terms of increasing blood flow and anti-inflammatory and some other benefits. So wherever you are, if you're a veteran, market that. I like to talk about how I grow dioecious hemp, male and female, because I'm of the belief that everybody's happier when they're dating. And what that means is that I get seeds, and that's not sensimilla. That's not the way most people grow their hemp. And I try to use that as a marketing advantage. We've got every part of the plant in here. Seed oil, a superfood, and flower infused for cannabinoids and terpenes. Not only that, infused by my question I always like to ask, how would the shaman do it? This is small batch. This is hard to do at high volume, but I decarboxylate the flower in the hemp seed oil from the same plant. And that means heating it up to 180 degrees for 3 hours and bottling hot and all that kind of stuff. So it's unique techniques that I think are a benefit. I like to encourage folks to think about connecting the dots. Start right away, building your soil. I go into the hills and collect mycelium and brew it out according to a technique I learned from a Big Island Mac farmer and Chris Trump, great KNF farmer, now in Idaho. But think about things like regenerative packaging, delivering in electric vehicles, end-of-life product. Is your product bottle compostable? We talked a little bit about the importance of finding a new craft category so that we can compete and outperform the fungible CBD, so that people are going to know what the advantages of these higher end products. A quick note, we all like getting funded, and it's really important. But if you are going to partner with investors, I doubt that there is a person in this panel who has not had an experience with potentially pairing up with someone who wanted to write a check but was not necessarily the right match spiritually, philosophically, whatever. I say this about work gloves because if anyone in your enterprise, from CEO to investor to marketer, whatever, does not love being in a hemp field, which for my money is about the most fun you can have outside the bedroom, they're not the right partner for me. This is about a plant, and the love I think we can all feel from everybody here for the plant is intense, and that's where it all starts. If you're gonna have a wonderful end product, you got to be out there and love those plants every day. You can't phone in a farm product. And now finally to the big answer of what I wish I knew. When you grow dioecious hemp, especially hemp that's male and female with seeds, you have to get those seeds cleaned and dried immediately. And I mean, I have consulting clients this year that we talked about it all preseason, season long, and and in fairness, it was a big project and it worked out great. And there was a buyer and it was organic, and it was budget issues and availability issues for facilities, but it was touch and go getting that seed that day to that seed cleaner and that seed dryer. It has to get down to 8 or 9% immediately. Hemp molds quicker than many other crops because you're harvesting it with a lot of green material in there, more so than most other grain crops. So that's something that I wish I knew before I got into hemp. So now going into our round 3 of questions, starting with Edgar. What has been the most challenging part surrounding your enterprise, first in Oregon, now in California? You know, is it building the soil? Is it getting seeds to germinate? Is it anything to do with mid-season issues? Is it inspections, THC tests, the 0.3 levels? Or is it packaging? Is it storage? Or is it hard to market? Is just selling the stuff the hardest part? What's something that folks might not know about that you think is the hardest part? And I'll ask this to all the panelists. And unmute.
Edgar,
Edgar, we
could you
can't hear
unmute
ya.
yourself?
I would say harvesting. Sorry, harvesting is the worst on my end because of all the different difficulties it takes to harvest the product. People don't realize that it takes many hours, and you have to determine. I grow both. I grow for agricultural, and I also do horticultural as well for my CBD products. So it's very hard to determine if you're going to be doing manually or automation. You have to really determine what part of the plant you want to save or not save. So harvesting is really the most difficult for me, because not only is it hard to get it out of the field, but after the harvest, what are you going to do with it? So we have to do a lot of different techniques, like you said, in drying the flower, if you're drying for flower, and also for the seeds as well. But people don't realize how much it takes to do harvesting. I know 2 years ago I did 21 acres of organic hemp on my farm in Klamath Falls, and I had to employ 22 people just to bring that product in because it was all manual. We didn't do the CBDs with automation, and I don't recommend anyone to do automation over their CBD collections because it does damage the flower. We haven't come up with good techniques yet to really save those terpenes and those trichomes. We just haven't done it yet. So I would say harvesting would be the hardest in my opinion.
Great to hear that. Something in the field being the biggest challenge for the guy who's been at it just about longer than anyone. How about you, Cap? Which step of the process, in the field or after, do you think is the hardest?
Well, there are always in-field challenges, but really access to market, I think that's where we're hands are tied with our state and whatever's going on there federally. So really, it is about getting this product to market and getting it out there. And as we know, handcraft is going to be a big thing. All the way in the cannabis industry, handcrafting is part of it. We know quality suffers when the machines come in and start banging on everything and thrashing it around. You'll still get a good quality product to a degree, but it won't be the same as what we're used to as craft farmers. How do I say? but access to market and funding to achieve that marketing ability as well. We have good programs that will get us all selling lots of tinctures and directly to people and like that. So if it's important that we have abilities to deliver our product aftermarket.
It is night and day, to echo what you're saying. It is night and day when you have a supportive state. We had a transition that you're going to have soon in Hawaii. We had a transition in New Mexico from a governor who didn't get it to a governor who had hemp cannabis as her number one priority as governor. And it really changed everything. Our Department of Ag is here to help us succeed. For folks who've had to deal with our environment department on the processing side, it's been a little bit more of a challenge. But now that we have such a friendly administration in, we're getting audiences. I've spoken to the Secretary of the Environment several times, and the idea of keeping at least that easy smokables market open for farmers markets so farmers can get some return while they're working to develop more significant products. I always like to show my 3D printed hemp plastic goat of how nice if we were manufacturing compostable biomaterials for our products. But I just wanted to echo that I feel Hawaii's pain, and I think when the next gubernatorial administration comes in, hopefully it will be more supportive. Greg, how about you? What's the toughest part for you? Please unmute.
There we go. There we go. Yeah, for me, it's like all of it. It seems like every step has an issue. And I've learned that from farming vegetables for years, that every plant has its own particular characteristic, and everything can be a problem, from different types of bug issues, different types of fungus issues, to different kinds of soil issues, to genetic issues, best kind of seeds to use in the state. Here in Hawaii, one of the things we do have that's an advantage is that we have year-round growing. So we can grow 3 or 4 crops in a small amount of land, and we can manage it with 2 or 3 people over a year instead of doing 25 acres, 1 crop a year. We can do, so that's one of our real advantages, is that a small farmer could do a 2-acre grow of high quality CBD and do it 3 to 4 times a year, which can bring a pretty good income in to a small family. That's one of the real advantages. But every step of the way can be an issue. I mean, I've dealt with germination issues. I've worked on feminization of seeds and trying to figure out the best kind of strains. All that stuff. It's hard to say which one is a real issue, because it seems like everything you do, you have to be on it. When you farm, you've got to be on it every day. I mean, there's no way you can lax one side of it and do something else, because it just doesn't work that way. Every day you have to be on it. You have to be looking and seeing if there's some issue with the plant or if there's a problem with the soil. So I feel like everything that you do, you have to be aware that something could be a problem. When you grow a great big beautiful 7-foot tall CBD plant and it's all in flower, and then the rains come and they beat the crap out of it, I mean, you don't have any control over that. I mean, there's so many things. We all know that farming's a gamble, and hemp's just like any other plant. It's just still a gamble. And when you come out at the end with a really good crop that's been harvested and processed into really high-end CBD, you just have to feel really good that you went through the whole process without too many problems.
Absolutely. So you guys in Hawaii, you can't, when you've got problematic weather, you can't just call like the weather service and order up some better weather, because
No, it doesn't work that way.
maybe with the next governor.
Hey, there's my wife, Gail.
Howdy, Gail.
Hi.
Good to see you. Edgar, can you get Margaret to
If you have the cure for rain when you don't want it, let me know.
We could, and here in New Mexico, it's a different story. Good to see your face. We're gonna go to questions now. If folks haven't, I see one question up in the chat, but if you have questions, put them up in the chat chat now, and we'll do a speed round while we await a few more questions. And so final question, guys, take the crystal ball, wield the crystal ball here for folks that are thinking of coming in. And it's fine if you say it's going to continue to be CBD gummy bears or smokables or tinctures, but prognosticate for someone coming in a market couple years down the road. Hawaii's regs are going to be nicer. Hemp's going to be like growing tomatoes. The federal THC level is going to be 1%. What if you were trying to give someone a 5-year game plan? What's a market for their low THC hemp that you would send folks, whether it's something that's big now or something you think is going to be big in future? Edgar. And hit that unmute, my friend.
Muted.
There we go. I would say here in California would be smokables. We passed our CBD program here in California, and it's pretty much favorable for the CBD market. But trouble is, the smokable end here in California is they didn't want to pass that because they didn't know how much tax money they could get off of the smokables. So they're not letting us do the smokables for another year until they determine on how much tax they want to put on our smokables. And I've never heard such stuff in my life, but that's what we're having to deal with here in California is smokables is going to be all over the United States, and most of all states, smokables is legal. And I know of several states who didn't want to make it legal, like Texas and Missouri and states like that. But the courts have actually turned them down and reversed their verdict to smokables. And I feel that smokables is a very big thing. And not only that is essential oil. My wife and I, we do distillation. And what we try to do is to get the essential oils out of the hemp plant. And people don't realize, but hemp essential oil is the 4th most expensive oil in the world. So we'd like to see more of the essential oils being produced here in America for worldwide production.
Cab, what about you were wielding the crystal ball? What's a 5-year outlook you might advise someone leaping into hemp now for a market that is big or will be big?
It's already big, and I think it's going to be getting bigger, and that'll be smokable flour. And that's going to be high quality coming out of Hawaii. There'll always be a niche for that, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes,
for sure.
A package that you could have in Georgia or Italy, and it says Hawaii, and you open that glass tube and have that beautiful product inside, whether it's rolled or whatever. It's just going to be phenomenal. People will not be the same after they've had that. The other is food and beverage. Food and beverage is coming up, whether it's a water kind of thing or a juice that we're going to have, like they sell shots right now in the store for immune shots with ginger and stuff inside. Same thing with our hemp. It should be on the menu every day in some form or another, multiple forms if we can. So I think like your seed, you can turn that into all kinds of different products. So food and beverage is going to be a way to go as well.
Definitely on my menu every day. How about prediction, Greg, on coming markets?
I do agree with Cab that smokables is really a big potential here, but of course it's not legal here in the state to be able to grow or sell smokables to anybody or to any stores, so we have to sell it out of the state. We have to sell it to the mainland, which is pretty ridiculous, but that's what we're up against. But I think there's a lot of other things that can be done. The other day I was thinking about, I use a weed eater, and I have to, use this plastic, and I have to, cut all this weeds, and the plastic flies everywhere. What about a hemp weed eater line that we could create here in Hawaii? That would be something that's, I don't know if it's ever been done, but I think it probably could be just as strong as any plastic weed eating line. And then another thing I've been thinking about is, of course, a destination, a hemp cannabis destination here in Hawaii, where people can come and learn about growing, learning about the medicine, learning how to use it, how to make their own. that is probably an opportunity for small farmers to be able to get into that sort of niche. You know, the bed and bud thing is big, but a cannabis destination that deals with not only cannabis but hemp could be a really good opportunity for small scale farmers here in Hawaii.
That's a great one. For my own, I'm going to give two. First one is hemp herd, the fiber side. I have my stalks just out of my reach behind my machine, and I'm afraid to get up because I disconnect my internet connection. But the inner core of the hemp fiber, it's not super valuable unless you have very high quantities. So it's going to be tricky in Hawaii, but for building materials like the hempcrete block that Cab showed earlier, these are really huge and expanding markets. Another one that Hawaii can really use is animal feed that doesn't have to be imported, and there are folks working on that on the regulatory end. And something that I've been predicting for a long time, and I just saw, so I'm fired up about this. Last week, for the first time, it was a ganja farmer, a psychoactive cannabis farmer in the Emerald Triangle. I wrote a book about that area about 10 years ago called Too High to Fail. And in that book, I said, someday people are going to stop being obsessed with trimming their flower once prohibition ends. And there's going to be whole flower just trimmed off the branch in Whole Foods like they do all over the world for people in the farmers market, for people to throw in and cook with, and not necessarily psychoactive cannabis, because the flower is extremely healthy, nutritive, raw in the cannabinoids in their acid form. And just the other day, I saw the first social media posting of an Emerald Triangle ganja farmer in California offering farm cut, meaning minimally processed hemp. And I think that that is a fun market we may see in the future. We'll take a couple questions now, and I'll run down them. But I just first want to thank Edgar Winters, Greg Smith, Cab Baber for this is a lot of hemp knowledge here. Like I said at the beginning, these are the folks I go to when I have questions about hemp and cannabis. So it's been a pleasure reconnecting with these three friends and colleagues of mine. So first question is a soil building question for Cab. Are you making your, and you may have, I don't know if you answered this in the chat, but are you making your effective microorganisms, your Bokashi? Yeah, do you make those yourself? And I guess, how could you source them? How could you source it?
Oh, yes. I make EM Bokashi all the time for the last 25 years. I make it for myself, my own farm, and other farmers, people that want to compost at home. I'll also go to farms and make it on large scale if people want to, make 30 yards at a time or whatever. Also looked at large scale production of Bokashi on the mainland up in Wyoming for doing like 50,000 acres. So there's ways of getting it on and getting it, to the farmers sooner than later. And anybody can do it. The EM technologies that are coming out of Arizona right now are super high quality. EM is used, internationally over, 120 countries. So it's a very a good way for us to go and really make a difference in anything you're going to grow, and particularly hemp. Give it a good boost up. And I have stayed with EM particularly because it is the most successful microorganism grouping that we have on the planet that we know of. There's many good microbial inoculants. I'll give that out there big time. There's a lot out there. Different universities have worked on it. Different individuals have worked on it. Some are selective for cannabis. So this is a real, a great thing to realize that microorganisms are a big part of our world and then our quality as well. That's going to come after that. So
yeah, I've heard you phrase it elsewhere, Cab, as there's a lot of different approaches to the same goal, which is basically having healthy living soil that your destination crop, your main goal crop loves. I mean, I truly see myself as a microbial farmer now. I'm trying to build beneficial fungus. I'm trying to build beneficial bacteria. I'm trying to get worms in there. And I just have seen the hemp that results, and not just hemp, but as you say, polyculture. and vegetables. So I really appreciate that you have for so long taken that so seriously. It's fun for me to be learning baby steps, mainly through Korean natural farming techniques. But I think, like you said, there's about we wouldn't all be here if people hadn't figured out how to keep the soil healthy, because that's how people ate before Whole Foods.
And Korean natural farming was born out of the EM technology. Dr. Higa was the one that really shared that, and then it was further down so that individuals could learn their own ways on their farm. But the EM technologies are so available to us, and you don't have to take years to learn all the different KNF things. You can really cut corners and get to business right now with Bokashi. That's one of the greatest reasons why I really prefer introducing that product to my clients and to people that really want to farm. KNF is wonderful stuff. When you really get down to the nitty gritty, it's really wonderful stuff. But this is just easy to apply in our world right now. That's why I go with that.
I agree.
Hey, Doug, also, I wanted to just point out with Cab that for everybody tomorrow night, Cab is going to give a presentation on Bokashi. I want to real quickly show this 2-minute video that recently occurred here on Maui. Bob Schaefer was over and we did a backhoe trench. And let me put up the video so people can better understand the importance of soil health and what it means and why and where we get to where it's not healthy and how we get there. So check this out. This is Bob Schaefer from Honau on Hawaii Island here on Maui in a backhoe trench on 100-year-old soils that have been farmed with sugarcane, the plantation.
Foot now, that's nice. 1.5 feet, almost 2 feet of dark soil. Let's look at what happens when we start at the lighter colored soil and move towards this dark soil. I've got this knife, I'm going to pull it up and I'm looking for compaction. As I come up here, this is fairly loose. That's fairly loose. It's starting to get in hard soil. So there was a change right here. That's the deeper compaction. Let's go downward like this. And right there you are. So here's where the farming over 80 years gain has caused a compaction zone right there. It's right at the bottom of the A horizon. This soil has more organic matter. It has the influence of roots over the years. It has the influence of nutrients and being loosened mechanically. But below, right where the disc and the plows stop, right where the roots stop, the soil becomes very hard right here compared to this soil. Look at the difference in color, of course. The difference in color is profound. Here on the top, here in the below, this structure is lacking. It has poor structure, massive structure. What I'm looking for in soil are pores. Here's a little worm pore. Earthworms, springtail, larvae, beetle larvae, the orpidid mite, and a couple others are the main animals on the soil surface. So the worm can come from the soil surface and get into some of the soil. However, no other pores. Lack of pores in this soil is the problem. It's called compaction, and it begins at about 2 feet on this soil in a serious way. What this is going to do is disallow water to drain freely further down in the soil. One of the services that soils provide to humanity is filtering water. If we can't filter water down, where's it going to go? Well, it's going to run on this clay lands and run away from the problem. What I want is for this clay lands to be broken by roots. So when the water comes up here, goes down and stays on my property deep in the soil. How am I going to break this down here at 2 feet? I'm going to use what are called tap-rooted plants, strong tap-rooted plants such as fodder radish. I'm going to use oilseed radish. I'm going to use chicory. I'm going to use dandelions. And I'm going to use some other things to break the compaction layer on this soil.
Like hemp.
Now, it's not
Like hemp. So
Yeah,
I just wanted,
for sure.
just wanted to point that out, folks, in the spirit that all that's being shared tonight. I really appreciate the level of expertise that you folks have brought forward. I had a question for Edgar. Edgar, do you know a man by the name of Neil Kinsey, an agronomist by the name of Neil Kinsey?
Yes,
My
I do.
God, when I close my eyes and I hear you speak, you sound like, yeah, you sound like Neil Kinsey when I close my eyes. And
Yeah.
and he's
Well,
a
he's a
great,
little bit more
great
educated
agronomist.
than I am, I'm
Learned a
sure.
lot from. Well, yeah, he's a great, really humble man like yourself too, though. And Doug, I want to thank you and everybody tonight for being here. We should probably wrap this up. Cab, Greg, Edgar, so nice to meet you, sir. And Doug, what
here.
can I say, brother? Keep on, man, and let us know how Acres is gone for you this year. Tell everybody there I said hi, and thank you everybody for being on tonight. Doug, you have any closing
I was
comments?
hoping to get more questions from other people. I guess we didn't get any questions. Is that right?
So, by way of wrapping it up and sending thanks and aloha to everyone on the panel and to everyone out there, I also want to say, I know I speak for Edgar and Greg and Cab that say we are trying to help farmers, not just because we believe in this plant and this industry, but because we know for all our grandkids and nieces and nephews and everything else to come in future generations, regenerative farming is the only way. So you can find us. You guys want a real quick bid goodnight and tell people where to find you? I'm easily contacted via the contact button at dougfine.com.
Also, you can reach me at winterfoxfarms.com on my website, or you can email at winterfoxfarms@gmail.com.
You can reach us at hawaiiroyalhemp.com.
And you can reach me at earthmattershemphawaii.com. @gmail.com. Anyway, I just want to say how I wish we could just keep talking, because there's a lot of issues. I would love to talk to Edgar about seeds, because he's probably has been one of the, forefronts of genetic research that we really need to understand more here in Hawaii. Because growing hemp in Hawaii, it's not a tropical plant. Basically, it's grown more in the northern climate. So we're dealing with a little different dynamic here, and I would have really liked the opportunity to spend some time talking about genetics, but we'll do that next time.
For sure.
It's a good sign when there's way more to talk about on a panel, but yeah, we should all get together and talk, because I learn every time that I speak with you guys.
Well, let me know if you guys want to do this at the convention, and we can make it happen.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm for it.
All right, guys, thank you so much. Aloha.
Aloha.
Everybody, thank you so much. And
Thank you.
remember, hfuu.org. Check us out. Aloha.
If you're not a member, become a member. Please, it's worth it.